President Uhuru Kenyatta has made a promise. He says, this is the time, and that brings me to the discussion I want to host tonight, to look at the credibility of such a promise. You're watching your election station, KTN Choice 2013 will be covered comprehensively. It's my great pleasure to invite the presidential candidate, Martha Karua. Always a pleasure to talk to you. Karibu sana. Why would there be such a separation if you actually had the same enemies and had the same aspirations?
It depends on where individually, what pursuits you have had and where your heart is at the moment.
I'm very happy to have Mheshimiwa Musalia Mudavadi, who's also been out there saying, make me a president.
If you want to be seen, taken seriously, you must promise what you can deliver and deliver what you promise.
So yes, it is a plan. It is working to a large extent. So there's a clock ticking. This clock is ticking, but which side of this clock are you? You're saying you meant well.
No, I mean...
you're saying there's some good reasons.
There were reasons.
Think about it, Neto. I'm not convinced. And we'll speak to you again, probably at the brink of it, and just see how close you are to getting the Kenyan board to be president. Thank you for being with us tonight. And this was your chance to meet Musalia Mudavadi. While I'm in hospital, lying, in the same hospital, and I've got all this stuff wired on me. One morning, I wake up, and I can't hear the nurse. Just like that, I can't hear the nurse. And she's coming in, you know, like, good morning, you sleep on that normal drill. And I'm saying, stop, I can't hear you. And she's like, stop joking. And I said, I'm not joking, I cannot hear you. I was discharged in 2 weeks. And I'm being wheeled out of the hospital, and I'm thinking, I came in with a situation which has been managed before. Although they never told me what. And here I am again, I'm being wheeled out, and the world is gone. It's like somebody has taken you, picked you up, and put you in a bucket or something, I don't know, in a drum. I lost the world. Went into a very bad depression. I just sank. My spirit sank, everything sank. Physically, mentally, whatever. My whole system is crushed. I literally live in a cave. I have no idea what's going on in the world. You walk into the living room and you can't watch TV. You can't listen to the radio. It's gone. I can't hear my daughter. Every day. It's painful. And what frustrates me is that I still have a sound mind. I can look at stuff and process things, but I can't get to that place where the trouble of I have lost my body balance. I didn't do those things. I didn't crush my pancreas. I didn't shut down my ears. What is it I could change? So if you ask me what I would do differently, I didn't do any of that. That was not me. So maybe you're asking if I knew how to dodge that, but how was I to know? I'm dodging a pancreas attack. How am I supposed to know? Don't do this, they'll shut down your ears.
Your ears look quite well. Your eardrum is good. All right, let's see the other side. Louis' eardrums are okay, and the external ear is also okay. I've also looked at his investigations, the hearing tests that were done, and found that they show that he has profound hearing loss in the right ear and severe hearing loss in the left ear. And he has also tried to use hearing aids, which have not helped, and especially because he's not able to discriminate speech. In that case, the only alternative left would be a cochlear implant, because the cochlear implant will bypass the damaged cochlear cells and stimulate the nerve of hearing. I know also he's worried about the noises in his ears and the dizziness. The cochlear implantation primarily is targeted at the hearing. However, some patients after cochlear implantation may have a better balance, and sometimes their noises may go down.
He's definitely giving me a chance at my life back. Well, I mean, nobody can doubt his credentials. Nobody can doubt his track record. So I feel I'm in good hands. You can see I'm holding a list of tests. And I can tell you, the Honorable Reggie has paid for this, because he definitely immediately gave a check for it. Remember I told you my friends disappeared? Yeah. So I guess that's one who has reappeared at a good time. He reappeared at a good time with good news. So I'll do my homework. Now that I'm enabled, I'll do my homework, so the doctors can then do their part. And then we'll see if it works out as you've asked. What then? But we hope for the best.
Do you want to get back to TV?
Let me put it this way: it's what I know to do. It's what I know how to do. It's what I have given my life to. My professional life has been television. So don't be surprised. Don't be surprised. I can't say as of now, but don't be surprised.
Today we are holding a COCHLEAR clinic. It's a clinic that is held under the auspices of the Cochlear Implant Group of Kenya, and it brings together the team, that is the surgeons, the audiologists, and the speech therapists.
Your lip read me.
My name is Mujahiddin. I'm a consultant ENT surgeon. After switch on of the implant, the patient hears an altered sensation. It is not exactly like the sound he used to hear, he or she. And that sound you have to learn to listen. In fact, that's the slogan which is commonly applied.
One of the things that we wanted to look at was to review his CT scans and MRI, and we have found that his cochlea is open, it is patent, and we are able to put in an implant. And that was the most important thing. So our conclusion is that he's implantable.
We came together almost about 8 to 10 years ago. And our aim is to bring cochlear, or was to bring cochlear implantation in Kenya, which we managed after all of us trained ourselves, both locally and abroad, in the process of cochlear implantation, surgical side, audiological side, and the speech therapy side. We then performed the first cochlear implant operation about 4 years ago. As of now, we have performed about 30 operations.
My name is Grace. I'm a speech and language therapist.
And now he's going through with the speech therapist, so that he's given an idea of the commitment in rehabilitation.
We have to start from helping the person
appreciate sound. The first few days is just to get to familiarize themselves with the sound they're hearing, because it may sound a little bit different from hearing it from a cochlea, because a cochlea is not like the hearing you get through your own ears. The advantage he has is that he lost his hearing when he already had language, so it's an easier journey than if he was a child.
Because you can't hear, so I'm going to do a lot of writing, okay, so that you can understand what I'm saying.
It is like training the brain to hear. So it is actually not training his ears, it's training the brain to hear. An example I can give is like, maybe that can help people understand, is if you were to move from here and you went to Nigeria and people started talking to you and they're speaking English, most probably you struggle to understand what they're saying. Why? Because you don't understand that accent. But as you stay there, with time, your brain starts appreciating their articulation, their different accents. So your brain accustoms itself to understand that kind of speech. One misconception people have is that once you get a cochlear implant, you start hearing immediately. But one thing I would like to mention is that while cochlear implant is going to allow you to get speech back, hearing back, you need to go through rehabilitation. The success of a cochlear implant is the rehabilitation after that. Because if we don't go through rehabilitation, you may not fully benefit from the cochlear implant.
The audiologist will also give him an idea of the mapping, which is like the tuning, and how often it will be held.
Nice to see you. How are you today? I'm Sarah Ndegwa. I'm a consultant audiologist and also part of the cochlear implant team of Kenya. He has had sensory neural hearing loss, profound deafness for the past 3 years. You see us, the audiologists, then we will attach the speech processor. And our role really is to make sure that the implant is working, and that day when he comes 4 weeks later, post-surgery, is when we do what we call switch on. What switch on means is that now we attach the external processor. It's called a speech processor. The function of the speech processor is to take the acoustic signal, which is the sounds that we hear, convert them into a digital signal, which then travels down the array of electrodes, and then through the cochlea, through the nerve of hearing, and to the brain. And at that time, he gets to hear for the first time in 3 years. And that's why we call it a switch on. It's like putting on a light. Suddenly he hears the sound. The switch. No. No.
At first, hearing with cochlear implant may be slightly different from the way you are hearing before.
What it really involves is to try and come up with a map. A map is that for various electrodes, we assess what is the most comfortable sound that he can hear and what is the quietest sound that he can hear. We call that a map across the speech frequencies. Our role as audiologists is to make sure that he does hear the sound. And then the speech therapist is to work through with the patient to make sure that the sound that he's hearing is making sense to him. As in, is it a low frequency sound, a high pitched sound, and so forth.
First, that one, operate, close. 3 hours. Go home. Stay for 1 month. When you come, now we get this, then bring it here, then we switch on.
Really, the role of the audiologist is just to make sure the processor is working, the implant is working. If there's any problem, we address it immediately. And then we have a happy patient and he's able to get on with his life. During the mapping sessions, I will check loudness, how loud you want it, how quiet you want it, and then we come up with a good map or program for you. So this is the internal part. This one is very close to the surface of the skin, So that's where it gets to attach to this one, like that. Like you can see how it's clipped on. The actual part that gets into the cochlea is just this last part there. That's the actual part that gets into the cochlea, yeah. The rest of it is the root to get there, yeah. We've explained to him that it's quite some work in terms of he has to spend time trying to listen to various sounds. How do they sound like using the implant? It doesn't quite sound like natural hearing. Some of the patients who've been implanted tell us it sounds a bit robotic.
In a child who has never heard sound, for that child, that altered frequency would be the sound that he hears. But for someone like Louis, he will experience the sound in a slightly different way as compared to a normal person.
He's not benefited from the hearing aids and he has discarded them. He's not using them at all.
Cochlear implantation is not a one man or a one person, and it's not a one-off process. It's a whole multidisciplinary approach as well as a long-term commitment to rehabilitation. Most people who have been receiving unilateral or one-sided implants. Ideally, if a person has both sides that require cochlear implantation, both sides should be implanted. But usually the limiting factor is cost. The advantage of two-sided hearing as compared to one-sided hearing is mainly spatial. You get to know the direction and source of sound much better than if you have only one hearing ear.
My expectation is that eventually he's gonna be independent, where he'll be moving around by himself without need of somebody to interpret anything for him.
One of the problems is that, of course, his expectations. How long? Because he's expecting to immediately pick up like that. We've been trying to dampen that. The fact that it will take time is a process.
The main cost is the implant itself. This is a high technology electronic device. It is not made locally. The two major brands, one is from Australia, one is from Austria. Now we in COCHLEAR have ensured and we have negotiated the basic cost rates with hospitals, with speech therapists and with audiologists to give us the minimum cost required not only for the operation but for 1 year of rehabilitation as well as 1 year of programming. As you're probably aware, the device has to be programmed periodically so that once the patient commits for the operation, he pays an amount which includes a 1 year total cost. So that for 1 year he does not have to raise any funds at all.
We usually do them in batches. We collect a number of patients and then, and because it's a team effort, you don't want to do one. We do a group so that the whole team is committed for 1 or 2 days and we just do the cochlear implants.
Every single patient has their own experience when they go through this. So this is now my journey and I'm going to walk it in the direction they've given. Back in the day when we started off, when we were doing our bulletins, before there was a teleprompter, before I could look up at the camera, this is what we did. We looked down at the paper and we read the bulletin from the paper and we looked up as often as we could. So it's not so bad. It's nostalgic, but it's an opportunity. I'm grateful to have it. Well, there's a lot going through my mind right now, but first I thank God that I'm here. I thank my family that I'm here, and I must thank the public because this has been an effort that started with my family but went out to the public. So the involvement goes beyond just me. It stretches out there, and I must say thank you for everyone who's brought me this far. It's quite a journey. We're not done yet. This is one of the steps. I'm glad I'm doing it at home. There was a lot of discussion surrounding where I will have the procedure done. Of course, it can be done elsewhere, but I wanted as much as possible that it be done at home, because there's a period of recovery which I will need. And any patient is better off with family, and being at home. It would be difficult if I would be out of the country right now trying to get this done. So I'm very happy that there's actually doctors, there's surgeons here who can do this and keep me at home. What I'm looking forward to is another chance to get back on my feet and get back healthy, get back and just be able to basically hear. Because this is what it's all about. Can I hear again? Will I be able to hear? Will it be natural, what I will hear? So my highest expectation is it will work, the implant will bond, and I will once again be able to hear. And if I get there, that gives me another chance to be able to get up, get back on my feet, and get back into my normal life. Because this stops you. So I suppose it's only proper that they start with one side. If it bonds, we continue. But from them, I'm sure they'll be able to explain to you how they're able to cost this whole exercise. But I can tell you it's not a cheap affair. For this bit, I know I'm going through, it's new, and I can't tell what it is I'm going to experience. So I'm just going to go in there and do what they require of me and wait to see how it feels. So the first thing I'll have is the physical feeling. I have to wait for that.
How are you?
I'm uncomfortable. I'm a lot of pain.
Okay, we'll give you something for the pain. We'll give you something for the pain, yeah?
Normally this surgery takes anything from 2.5 to even 4.5 hours. And there are various complexities that one may encounter in terms of the anatomy of the particular patient, and which necessitates that we proceed very slowly. And sometimes when the anatomy is very clear, then the operation takes place much faster. In adults, usually it's easier than in children. In children, everything is smaller and hence technically more challenging.
After we put in the cochlear implant, we tested in theater to see that the implant is in place and that all the electrodes are active. Everything has gone according to our plans.
We are extremely optimistic, and even for children, but in children it takes longer. In an adult who already had language and then lost hearing, all he needs is a bit of hearing and his language, everything will come back.
A cochlear implant that is implanted and then there is no rehabilitation is as good as not putting it in.
This device does not improve balance. Yeah? This device is intended only for improvement of hearing. It can also be used for suppressing troublesome noise that some people who have hearing loss experience, something we call tinnitus. And if an implant works properly, which it usually does, the tinnitus or the noise becomes less. So the person's quality of life really improves.
When you look at the total cost of the cochlear implantation plus rehabilitation, which is very important, cochlear implantation is Kenya, is as good, and the cost is equivalent to the cost that you'll get outside Kenya. Furthermore, the team that does your cochlear implant is the same team that follows you up, because cochlear implantation is not an event. It is a process. The surgery, the hospital, and 1 year rehabilitation will cost about 800 to 900,000. So the total cost is about 2.6 million. Now, people compare the cost outside, but the cost outside does not include that 1 year rehabilitation. NHIF is paying part of cochlear implantation costs. They give for certain people with different types of covers, they give a certain percentage of the cost of the implantation. And for others, especially people who are covered like civil servants, they pay for the whole cost. And the hospitals in Nairobi have the facilities for cochlear implantation.
It's hard to maintain optimism over such a long time.
I'm a show host. I talk to people. Another day, another time, you would be my guest.